Recently there's been a marked increase in the teaching of spirituality throughout the world, and that's really to ensure a holistic approach to patient care and student understanding of the needs of patients. It's also been important to ensure that medical students feel confident and comfortable dealing with spiritual issues when they're dealing with patient care. For some patients, spiritual issues and issues of meaning and belief can be a core component of their health and their healing, and therefore it's important that as a teaching university we embed those concepts into our curriculum.
I believe that for many of our patients, for many of the physicians that attend them, the concept of spirituality as being at the heart of their understanding of who they are, where they came from, and how they interact with society and how they see meaning in their life is fundamental to how they also appreciate and understand illness, how they appreciate and understand suffering and death and dying. And that goes on to how they cope with suffering, how they cope with illness, how they cope with dying, with ultimately death. And for many, also how they recover. So there is a link in many people's minds between their spirituality, their understanding of that innate core part of themselves, and ultimately healing. So if that's where our patients are coming from, and many of their caregivers, I think it becomes an ethical obligation of medical schools to at least give their students an appreciation of that component in their patients' lives, if they are truly going to be compassionate caregivers.
In my view, spirituality should be included in the WHO definition of health, which says that health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. In fact, spirituality could serve as a bridge between the concepts of mental and physical health, so that we talk about one health, because dividing health into mental and non-mental can only increase stigma of mental illness.
In this medical school, we've embraced this concept from about 2005 onwards, and we now seek to at least give our students the ability to take a spiritual history, to understand that this dimension can be critical to their own patients' healing, and to be able to have a sense of when a patient may be spiritually suffering at the same time as they may be physically suffering. If you're not going to deal with the whole patient, you've fundamentally, I think, failed in your duty of care.
There are a number of innovative teaching initiatives about spirituality underway to ensure that UWA students have an opportunity to discuss and explore issues of meaning and self-belief and how they relate to health and well-being in our community. A new module to teach spiritual history taking to our students has been developed, and students are introduced to this in the beginning of their first year at medical school. We're also reaching out from medicine to a more campus-wide audience with a broadening unit that we teach entitled Mental Health for Today's World. This unit incorporates a range of holistic approaches towards healthcare, including engaging students with exploring their own spirituality and a discussion about what it means to be well.
For the past 10 years, our 6th year students have all had a week of palliative care. In this week they get to know one patient quite deeply. What we discovered was that they all feel quite traumatised by the fact that the patients are dying. They are forced to face the reality of death. This prompted the development of a 5th year option where the students can spend 2 weeks exploring issues in greater depth. This morning I spent several hours with 3 students who are doing the option. One is an Indian background student who's a Hindu, the second is a Chinese Buddhist, and the third a South African agnostic Christian. I've discovered over the years that we get the most wonderful mixture of students of cultures and backgrounds. Part of the learning is learning from each other. These students take turns at leading discussion groups, exploring the issues of spiritual care in the patients and in their own lives.
So basically this unit runs for 2 weeks, and in that 2 weeks you get one main assignment. How this works is that each student gets allocated a patient with a terminal illness and wards, and our job is to go and talk to them and then write reports about it. We're not just after a medical history, so it's not just about symptoms or what kind of treatment they're on. We're trying to find out who they are as a person. So things like family, beliefs, life story. And from a spiritual point of view, we're also looking for things like their thoughts in the future, and because they're terminal, thoughts of impending death. I think this unit has been a real eye-opener. If we want to approach a patient holistically, so as a whole, I think to look at them from a spiritual angle is also very important. It's what that makes them a person.
Currently, we are conducting an internationally funded research project to investigate the teaching of spirituality in university medical education nationally, along with an exploration of Australian deans and educators, medical educators and teachers, and students' attitudes towards the integration of spirituality into university curriculum. We're conducting this research really with the primary aim to identify what is the best practice towards teaching spirituality and incorporating it into a medical program.